Good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this March 10th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. And we have a really cool special guest here coming up in just a little bit. Zee Gimon is live from us today from Kyiv, Ukraine, and I think that you guys will really enjoy that. And there's a little confusing. We have two different Facebook streams going today, and we're probably the one we're able to monitor the easiest is the one that has fewer views. So anyhow, it's a little confusing, but hey, man.
What's up?
How's it going this morning, man?
It always just throws me off when it double dips like that.
I know. Well, what happened is, and I don't know if it just gets old or whatever the deal is, but sometimes StreamYard, it just won't trip the indicator. So it'll be live on Facebook, but it won't send out the notifications to people that it is live. And I know because I don't get the notification on my phone. And so then I start a second stream because when I started out of Vimeo, it does do the notification. So
I never got any notification at all.
Do you normally get notifications?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and
I didn't get nothing.
And maybe I didn't either. I don't know. So, but occasionally Facebook is just anyhow. So
crack. Who knows?
Yeah. So, and this is such a cool show today. I just wanted to be sure and get it out. Are you able to look at both Facebooks?
I know it must have been a special show. You were here early.
Well,
I thought you were having like a meeting or something.
Yep. So
I can see both. Yeah, I can see both Facebooks. Yes.
Okay, good.
Let's see. Let's touch on sports real fast before we get to weather. TJ Davis was on the sports show yesterday, national champion. Dana Wright received a notification. Okay. TJ Davis on the sports show yesterday. I got something special coming for everybody too. I think tentatively Tuesday. We're trying to work it out. It's really hard when you're dealing with a bunch of people, but the Union high school girls basketball team and their coach, state champions, on the sports show sometime next week. I want them all together though, all four of the seniors and the coach, and that's kind of hard when they all go to school and softball's already started, but we're gonna make it work somehow. And then as EOU women's basketball plays in the national tournament this weekend. The funny thing is one of my really good friends from high school is the head coach of the number one team in the nation that's playing in that basketball tournament. Tim Hayes is the head coach at Southeastern University in Florida, and they're going to be. I mean, they could essentially play EOU, but I mean, the EOU would have to make it pretty far into the tournament to get to them, but that's kind of cool. And then the women's wrestling team is at nationals as well. Baseball and softball cranking up. I'm ready for it. It's time for spring. Let's get this cold weather. It was cold. I get to my car this morning. My hands were freezing.
No, I know. My van wouldn't start. That was kind of funny. So
it's not warm.
Yeah,
but at least it's first Friday. At least it's first Friday. We're almost
first Friday. I was gonna work that into the opening. First Friday.
We're almost home. We're almost to the weekend.
Yeah. Well, and again, this is just going to be such a great conversation. Share this on your Facebook feed if you know friends, or you send this to them if you know friends that would be involved, be interested in this conversation, because I assure you it's just going to be very interesting. So the sun's shining, but man, it is cold, isn't it?
Yeah, what's the I mean, I guess Gabe's about to tell us what the temperature is.
Well, I don't know what the current temperature is, but
I'll be freezing.
Yeah, I think it was, I was thinking 25, 30 degrees, somewhere around there.
It was cold enough that I felt it in my bones, man, when I walked outside. And all the metal that's in me, too.
That's right. Mr. Bionic Man.
I only have metal in 3 spots. That's not bad. I know people that have a lot more.
Yeah, well, I know people who have a lot less.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Well, here let's listen to this. See what Gabe says.
Heading into the day on Thursday, we'll top out into the 30s and 40s across the board. We're going to start to see some high cirrus clouds filter in, definitely more towards the central part of our region, a little bit less down south as we see even more sunshine. Heading into the day on Thursday for LeGrand, it does look like this. We start out in the mid-20s at 9 o'clock as we start to see a mix of the scattered high clouds and a mix of that sunshine, making conditions look a little bit hazy at times. High temperatures will top out into the lower 40s as southwesterly winds gust up to 20 miles per hour in spots during the afternoon hours. Heading to my short-term forecast for the Grand Northern Valley, I am tracking a high temperature of 40 degrees for Thursday. We'll drop into the lower 20s overnight. A little bit more cloud cover on Friday, but still some sunshine in the mix as temperatures approach 50 degrees.
Kills it like usual.
Yeah, Mr. Smooth. It's just amazing.
Hey, I forgot to tell you, the other day I ran into Paul Anders at Raoul's.
Uh-huh.
And he kept going on and on about how much he loves coming on here. Like,
really?
It was pretty funny.
Well, that's cool.
Like, it's such a great opportunity for us, and you guys don't ask us any questions that put us, behind the 8 ball it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's probably, you and I know this, and our regular viewers know this, but our goal is not to get people on and embarrass them or corner them.
No, we can just embarrass ourselves.
Yeah, we're pretty good at that.
I'm good. I'm okay with that. I can care less.
Yeah. Well, and Paul is just all of our commissioners are just really good people. That's what they're just the kind of people that you would enjoy having a conversation with outside of what it is that they do. They're invested in the community. They're just good people,
Yeah,
so,
they are. They definitely
so,
are.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't know or have not picked up on this for businesses, there is some grant funding that is available through Union County, and those applications have to be in by April 1, but it's up to $10,000 per business that has been impacted by COVID in some manner. So
which is every business.
Which is every business. That's right. Yep. Yep. If you're still in business, then you have been really impacted. So, All right. Well, hey, we're going to go to a short commercial and we'll be right back with Zee. Hey, Zee, how are you?
Yeah.
She might have her. There she goes.
As always, you're a newt.
Yeah, I've said that. Those are like during the pandemic, one of the most used phrases is, hey, your mic is muted. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, thanks so much for being with us today. And so you are, I don't know. So tell us where you are currently and kind of what your day-to-day life is like. And then we'll go from there, kind of go back and forth.
Right. Well, I'm a native of Kyiv in Ukraine, and this is where I'm right now. And Ukraine has been on the news for 2 weeks now, since the war started, and I'm still here. We spent the first week hiding in our church because I had a basement. And then after everybody that I stayed with in the church moved to evacuate, we decided to move to my mom, who also lives in Kyiv. So this is where we are right now, me and my kids. Well, my husband is out working and defending Ukraine from the evil forces.
Wow. So let me I have a map that will kind of help people understand. And Ukraine is about the size of Texas, I understand, for Americans, and you can see Kyiv, kind of right there in the upper middle, and that kind of gives you also an idea. I think this map was made as of March 9th of where the forces are, and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
So I can't imagine. And so then you in right before we came on, you said, hey, we never know when there might be an air siren, and you guys kind of tell me about your life, what it is, what do you do when you hear that? And I don't know, it is so. And like I mentioned before, I'm sorry for asking. Please forgive me for asking ignorant or stupid questions. This is just so outside of our lives, and I guess that's the point of having you on, is helping us understand. So tell us what happens when a siren goes off, and where do you go?
Mm-hmm. It's kind of outside of our lives as well, because up until the morning of 24th of February, we never thought that it would actually happen. And even when we woke up to sirens and to explosions, we were like, well, like we woke up to sirens and thought that maybe it's just an alarm clock or an ambulance driver. And then we heard 2 explosions and thought that, okay, so this might not be so easy. Right now, whenever there's an airstrike alarm, thankfully we have an app now. They've developed it quite quickly. That alarm, like that, literally alarms us to the fact that there might be an air raid attack. And so whenever we hear that, it's either you go to the basement, into the bomb shelter, into the subway station, or if you're in an apartment building, you could just go. They say that the best in an apartment building is where you're in the corridor between the apartments. So it has no windows and it has several walls on each side to protect you from the impact. So that's where we go. And last night there were 4 alarms during the night. So you get up, you take the kids, you waddle into this corridor, you sit on the on the chairs or whatever. People have different setups. I usually try to regain the semblance of sleep while I sit there. We usually sit for about an hour or so, just to be on the safe side. And then we whenever unless either there is we wait for an hour and nothing happens, or there is an like the cancellation of the air raid attack. We also get those messages, so we waddle back to our beds and try to get some more sleep and hope for the best.
So
what triggers the alarm? So what makes the alarm go off? Is there a
the
person,
Ukrainian
or is it...
Air Forces? They have some sort of a notification, from what I understand. So whenever their systems catch up on the fact that there has been a missile shot or like something like that, they press the button and the alarm goes off, which gives about various approximations I've heard, but one of them was like it gives about 7 minutes 7 to 10 minutes of time to go hide. So yeah.
Wow.
But it's surreal
Yeah.
even to us, because it's like I talk about it easily right now because that has, like, our lives have been changed, and I think we'll have to deal with all of this trauma afterwards. I don't think we realize it fully right now, because it's just like we never wanted. Right now, Russia says that we wanted to attack. We were getting ready to attack them. This couldn't be further from the truth. So we just want to live on our earth, on our land. So we're all like living in a nightmare in a way.
Yeah.
Dang.
So it's the app itself that goes off, or the sirens, or both that are alerting you.
In some areas, the sirens actually go off in the city or in the villages, whatever. In some areas, the sirens are not as loud, and you can just sleep through them. So the app actually gives more, like, it's right next to you, and you get used to the fact that you have to constantly watch your phone. I've seen a post today that said, I woke up to a message to my phone vibrating today. So I thought maybe it's an air raid attack again, notification. Turned out somebody just added somebody else to the Facebook group or something. So, but you still wake up because you just never know.
Right. And you're blogging about this on your Facebook, and it's very interesting, because you're kind of you've counted the days, and I don't know, what day is this. This is this
15.
day 13?
15.
15. Yeah. And so, and one of the blogs that you mentioned the other day is that you dreamed that you slept through an alarm, through an error. Yeah. And so I mean, it's just hard to even get your head around. Maybe you have been to Idaho, you've been to
Mhm.
America. Can what has your life been like? Has it been similar to what we experience here in the United States? I mean, give me a contrast if you can. I can imagine how strange this is,
Mhm.
but can you give me a contrast as to how normal life has been compared to what Americans experience?
Well, it's different from where I've been in America, because I've been to rural areas. Like, I've been to Idaho Falls, and I've been to Midland, Michigan, and Kansas City, but that was like more outside of the Kansas City. So it was more rural areas. And Kyiv is the capital, so it's more of it's not New York, but it's more fast paced. So a usual day would mean getting up around 7 a.m., getting kids to ready for work, not for work, for school, driving them to school, driving to the subway station, going to work, and then working out during the lunchtime, picking up kids from school and going home. So right now, all of those routines are pretty much off, because we get up whenever we get up, and kids don't have school. We started doing online classes, basic ones, just so they remain, uh, yeah, in touch with the education, because it's also important. And yeah, so our day right now is mostly eating and reading the news. So,
Wow.
yeah. And it's horrible. I love to read. I love my phone. I love to stay in touch, but it's when I have to be like, we all are continually glued to our phones, because there's like news coming all the time.
Wow. Well, let's go back a little bit. And you were born in Kyiv. Tell me a little bit about the beginning of your life. And you were born in Ukraine, and it's Ukraine, not the Ukraine. And
Well, actually, I was born in the Ukraine.
oh, okay, yeah.
Pre-1991.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I was born, like I mentioned before, I was born in 86, so I'm the Chernobyl baby. And so I don't remember much of the childhood, but I do remember, for example, living in USSR near its end when my grandma would take me to, there would be horrible deficit of everything pretty much in the stores. We would have shelves lined with salt and oil. That's what I remember. Like 6 inches apart, there would be bottles of oil because that was pretty much what was available, or something like that. And then you could get, for example, one person could get a kilogram of, like, it's a 2 and something pounds of flour per time. Like, if you go to the store, you can only get 2 pounds of flour each person. So my grandma would take me with her because it makes 2 persons. So we can get 4 pounds of flour. And you would have to stand in the line, and you never know whether by the time your turn comes, whether there will be anything left. Because, like, you can spend an hour in the line and end up with nothing. So for me, I didn't realize that before. Back when I was a kid, for me, it was more of I get to spend time with my grandma. But at the same time, when I grew up, I was like, who would ever want to go back to USSR? Because we have a lot of people that actually long for those times. And for me, it's more of analyze what life has been like when one day you get there was ice cream that cost 10 million of not rubles, coupons. We had coupons. And then for those that watched the show with Bob and Colleen Skinner, they mentioned all of those coupons.
Oh, right.
So, yeah. So it was weird, but at the same time, my family made sure that I never even suspected that life was actually hard. I thought my mom had her favorite dress that she wore all the time. She loved this dress so much. And only when I grew up, I found out that actually that was the only dress that she had. And she hated it, but that was the only dress she had. And so she had to wear it. So that's a bit about the childhood. And then when the USSR fell apart in 91, missionaries started coming to Ukraine. Lots of missionaries came, and one of them was a couple from Austin, Texas, Jim and Don Welchley. And my mom was back then working as a English teacher in school. And one of her friends told her, there are 2 Americans, they're paying in dollars, they need an interpreter. And they're paying in dollars was the key phrase that was necessary back then, because our money were pretty much worthless. And so she agreed to be a translator for this couple, and it turned out to be our missionaries. And so, we started going to church at that time, and that's where we've been ever since. And so my mom is a pastor. I'm almost a pastor. Hopefully, if the war ends and we'll have time to study, I will graduate next year. So, yeah.
Wow. So what do you guys talk to me about what you and your husband do for a living? Because that's interesting also.
Yeah, I never wanted to work as a marketing person. I actually took management. I chose management in university because the alternative was marketing, and I said I will never be a marketing person. God obviously had different plans for me, so I ended up a marketing person in an IT company where both of my husband and I both work there. I used to work in American Chamber of Commerce for 6 years, so that was a good start also. But right now, yeah, the last 8 years I spent in IT, and Ukraine is a really good place for IT people because um, it opens up a lot of opportunities, and it also uh, with me knowing English, it's very convenient area to work with because a lot of the clients are from overseas. We have some Ukrainian clients, but not many. But yeah, the our guys are very good in IT guy, like in programming. So Ukrainians in general. So
Wow. So you have been able to, I mean, have you been able to keep working during this whole mess? I mean, how
the
is that? How does that work? Yeah.
we try to. Most of our team evacuated from Kyiv, so they have been working almost full speed. I haven't. I have done several things on that front as well, but mostly it was we didn't have a good internet at the church because a missile uh, debris fell onto the equipment of our internet provider. So we kind of had only mobile internet for a while. But yeah, I'm starting to regain the tasks and get a hold of the tasks to do for work because it gives a sense of normalcy to this whole thing because knowing that just sitting around waiting for the siren is not fun.
Right.
So
No.
we cleaned up today. We tried to do all kinds of like basic things that bring a sense of uh, usual life into the messed up thing we're doing right now. Uh, but so far so good. I start my posts pretty much every time I start my post. We're alive and well. So we are alive and well, and thank God for the internet.
Yeah. So, and you were saying earlier how that you were talking about how the IT community is really, I mean, they've been critical in being able to continue commerce.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, talk about that a little bit because that's interesting.
Yeah, since basically what an IT person needs for work is a computer and internet. So wherever you are, as long as you have your computer with you and your internet connection, you can work. Um, so even now, despite the evacuations, despite the various things, our team has been able to work, and even the government is supporting IT people right now because they're the only ones, or not the only ones, but the main industry that brings in revenue from overseas right now. Like I mentioned, because most of the clients are from overseas or from Europe. So the IT industry pretty much holds the economy afloat. There are some other incomes, and so many people are right now all over the globe are donating to the cause of Ukraine and our army, as well as various charity organizations and stuff. But yeah, it's for us, for my company personally, it's important to be able to work and be able to not just to accept donations, but to actually work and have something to do with our time, and so that we can apply our knowledge, whether it's just a client's product, or whether it's we had a client that wants to do something for Ukraine and in general, like a product that would help Ukrainians with evacuations and other things. So yeah, it's important, and Ukraine is very IT oriented in general. Compared to Europe, we have a lot of the products that, like the digital government. We have an app for that allows all of Ukrainians that have smartphones, where apps can be installed. We can do anything from getting the support from the government in turn, like right now during the war, they're supporting the small business entrepreneurs. They also do, like, you can sign up for vaccinations. You can see if you had any car tickets, and you can pay them within that the same app. So they're trying to organize, like, we have our documents in the app, so you don't have to carry your ID all the time. There's an app for that. So we're very digitalized nation, and I think that that's one of the things why Ukraine and IT sector in Ukraine is one of the drivers of the economy, and especially now that a lot of the businesses, a lot of people had to move out, so they have no way of working in many businesses that are more offline, whereas we can work whenever and wherever.
Wow. Let me show a picture here. You can kind of tell us where that's at and the story behind that.
This is a picture of Kharkiv. It's a city in the eastern Ukraine, northeast, and it was usually pro-Russian. It used to be one of the back in USSR times. At one point, it was the capital, and then it was moved back to Kyiv. The Russians, when they were attacking, they thought that this city will gladly welcome them because they were so pro-Russian. They supported Russian language and generally looked more towards Russia than Europe. But at the same time, the atrocities that the Russian army did there caused a lot of people to actually want to move out. And this is the picture from one of the train stations, probably about a week ago, when the peaceful civilian area was bombed during the day. There were numerous victims, children, and like pretty much everybody. And so, yeah, some people were evacuating from that station. So you can see, like in one of those usually one of those wagons would or carts would have about 40 people inside. One of my mom's friends was evacuating, not from Kharkiv. She was evacuating from Kyiv, but they had 210 people, and a cart that usually holds 40.
Wow.
So that's
They were on top of each other then.
Pretty much. They were in the hallways. They were sitting. There are 4 bunk beds. Like when you enter the compartment, there are 2 bunks on the bottom and 2 top bunks, and then there's the hallway. And then pretty much all of those places were taken by people. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. And then this is you and your hubby? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And and tell me about the choice. So you guys you've chosen to stay there, and then he is kind of part of the resistance. I mean,
Mhm.
what a huge decision for you guys.
Yeah, well, we from the very start, our kids are 12 and 10, so they're old enough to understand a little bit that is going on. So we decided that it would make sense for us to stay because I didn't want to leave Sam here, and like it's hard for me even to. I have seen him since this is the 15th day of war. I've seen him 4 times during these 15 days.
Wow.
Mostly just for like 5 minutes or maximum of 45 minutes when he would stop by. So for us, it was important not to leave anyone behind. And because even despite the fact that we're in different area in Kyiv, there's still a feeling that if something happens, we can be there for him. And you never know what might happen just because it's war, and you're never guaranteed another minute of your life, but especially during war. So I made a decision that we're staying, and yeah. So right now he is serving as territorial defense. This is not the typical army people. These are people with military training, and some of them just had military training during the last couple of months. And the idea is that throughout the cities, we have block posts where people are like the cars and people that are passing by, they're being checked to see whether they're Ukrainians or Russians. And so they're the main force that stops the enemy from entering into the cities, whereas the army people are actually on the more out front, working on dealing with the army itself.
So and how would you even know? I mean, that seems like a difficult task of knowing who might be coming in and out of the city who is, I mean, they're pro Russia. How is, what a mess. How is that even determined?
Well, one of the ways is you have to carry your ID all the time. So you have to carry your passport, a Ukrainian passport, and obviously Russians don't have that.
I got it. Okay.
So that's one of the ways, and also we have a joke that there's a Ukrainian word palyanitsa, which is like it's a type of bread, the typical bread for Ukrainians, and Russians can't say that word just because like the combination of sounds. We can easily speak Russian, and most of the time, actually, I do speak Russian, which makes me always laugh when Russians are starting to tell that Russian-speaking people are very oppressed here in Ukraine, and nobody can speak Russian or they will be beat up. I speak Russian my entire life for 36 years. No problem at all. We do know Ukrainian. Now I start to use it more and more. We want to switch completely, but at the same time, there is no pressure, as in like you either speak Ukrainian or die.
Yeah.
And so but this palyanitsa is one of those words that we can jokingly use to check, because even if people pretend to be Ukrainian or they carry IDs, they won't be able to say that word unless they know they speak Russian with Ukrainian accent or they've been living here for a while.
Wow.
So,
Is Russian and Ukrainian, are they really close, the languages?
that's an interesting question. Yes. But it always made me laugh because Ukrainians can easily understand Russian. And whenever I would speak Ukrainian to Russians, they would not understand.
Interesting.
So I don't know whether it might be just because we're used to being bilingual by birth. Pretty much everybody in Ukraine would understand Russian with no
Right.
problem. There's some words that are different, but like it's less. What languages can I compare it to?
Well, I would say it would
Yeah.
be like kind of like here in America, people on the West Coast, we talk very clear, and then like people way down south, we
Oh, yeah.
can't understand them, but they can understand us.
Yeah,
So,
that could
you
be
know
it.
what I mean? It's like very similar. I would assume.
Yeah, I once translated one of the weirdest translation experiences that I've had. I translated an Irish guy's sermon to Californians.
Wow.
That was the weirdest experience because I was like, "That's your language. I'm Ukrainian. I don't like. It's my second language, so or third actually." But yeah,
Wow.
they couldn't understand, and so I basically sat there repeating the words, the same words that the guy was speaking, and the Californians were like, "Okay, we understand what you're saying."
Oh, so he was speaking in English, but just with an
Yes,
Irish accent.
it was just an
You're like,
accent.
oh, they're saying like, yeah. The
Wow.
Irish people are hard to understand.
So, and tell us about this picture.
Yeah, this is actually the our corridor where we used to hide. So it's between the apartments. You can see the door that is open is the door to our apartment, and the other one is the neighbors. So that's where we sit, and that's my mom and our kids.
Wow.
So
When
Wow.
you said they're 12 and 10,
yeah,
boy and a girl, the girl's the
Mhm.
older.
girls are older. Yeah.
Nice. I got 3. I got 17, 15, 13. BC's got a
Yay.
bunch of kids too.
Teen years, right in the middle. We're still
Oh.
approaching those, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, but the 13, 12-year-old girls, they're tough, man. They're tough. They are
yeah.
tough.
We're discovering that.
I'm on number 2. My oldest is a girl. She's 17, and then my youngest is a girl, and she's 13. Man, they're tough. Woo.
Yeah. I had 2 teenage girls.
Yeah.
They're adults now, but yeah, both of them was a challenge. Well, I had a question, but it like
I'll hit her with
Go
this.
ahead. Yeah.
What Dana asked. Dana Wright said they heard the nuclear power plant was taken over by Russian forces. Did it interrupt your power?
Yeah, we do. They've taken 2 nuclear power plants. One of them is Chernobyl, the infamous Chernobyl. And right now, the situation there is kind of weird because nobody knows. Well, I don't have the information, clear information whether that power plant is getting any energy. So they have the generators up, but yeah, it's kind of nervous situation. And also, there was another nuclear power plant, one of the largest in Europe, and I think somebody mentioned that it's the largest in the world. So it was taken by the Russian forces, but now I think they've regained it back.
Yeah.
That power plant provides about 25% of the entire Ukraine energy supply. So yeah, for a while it was an interesting situation. And again, when it's one thing to threaten with nuclear bombs and another thing to threaten with a nuclear power plant explosion, because if it explodes, it doesn't just take Ukraine out. It will cover, like just like Chernobyl, it affected the entire world because the radiation was like there are very few areas in the world that Chernobyl radiation didn't get to. So yeah, thankfully it's under our control. There was an international like organization that controls nuclear power. I'm not sure whether it's plants or whether it's the nuclear objects in general. So they came over and they had their commission or a team on site. And so, yeah, the main problem right now is that the people that work at both of those nuclear power plant stations, they have been there for over a week without any chance to get some rest. So whenever you mixed nuclear power plant with tiredness and burnout,
Yeah.
Crazy. And then the second part of that question is, it says Z speaks very good English. Where'd she learn English? And I can answer that for you. Her mom was an English teacher.
Actually, that's a part. But actually, the main reason was because I was 6 when we went to church, and there were always Americans. So I would not, I didn't want to be interpreted for. So I tried to start to speak right away. And yeah, so my mom tried to teach me English. She really did. But I was a very stubborn child. So I didn't want to do it my own way. So yeah, I basically grew up with Skinner boys. So yeah, they're the reason I know English.
Wow. So, and all of this is on the heels of the pandemic. Kind of talk to us about how that has affected your life. You know, what you guys have been going through. Has it been similar to what everybody else is?
I think it has been similar, because that was like the entire world was affected. So if anything, that was the one time where everybody knew, like pretty much all of the countries introduced lockdowns and masking and all of the vaccinations and stuff. So yeah, it was weird at first, but we were just recently talking with my mom about the fact that it's a good thing that we had pandemic first and then the war, because after being home for 2 years almost, or like mixed with distance learning for kids and staying home and lockdowns and working sometimes from the office, it's easier now with the war when we have to stay inside all the time, or we're urged to stay home all the time. Because if we would have the same kind of conflicts that we had in the very beginning of the pandemic, when when a lot of people had to basically learn how to spend the entire day with each other.
Right.
Yeah, especially like we live in a two-room apartment. So there's kids' room and there's our room, which is bedroom / living room / dining room / entertainment, everything. And so at first it was very hard because we had to come up with places even for kids to study, because they couldn't study in the same room, because they would get on each other's nerves, and one would, yeah. 2 kids is fun. But so we've got all of this basic routines of staying home together out of the way. So right now it would probably be a whole lot more difficult to be together all the time, especially with added stress of war and explosions and whatnot, like everything that we see on TV.
So crazy.
Do you have a sense, or is there a sense that the targets, the bombing, or the are they indiscriminate, or are they aiming for something specific?
At the very first, they were saying that we only aim, or they were not saying they're aiming. The Russians were not there, or so they claimed. A lot of Russians actually think we're bombing ourselves. And it's a true story. I've seen posts saying like, well, you just want to blame us for what you're doing to yourselves. But at first they were targeting strategic objects. So they were targeting like airports and these nuclear power plant stations and various things. But in the last week, they got really, really ruthless, I guess. I don't really even have words for that. Like yesterday, they bombed a maternity ward and a children's hospital. And today they claimed that, well, we did that because there were that hospital was for a long time. It was the base of an army division, so we wanted to get rid of that. And we were like, well, all of those pregnant, bloody mothers running out of the hospital are definitely not the army people. And so that's one of the war crimes that they will have to stand trial for. But we had several missiles thankfully blocked and shot down they were aimed for Children's Hospital in Kyiv. There were always also several of the villages near Kyiv were also bombed. Where it's just the houses. So I have a couple of friends that they have a disability, so they use wheelchairs, and they were stuck in their home that was shot at from the tank, and they live in a small house, in a house. So it's not an apartment building.
Wow.
So it was not just a random misguided missile. It was a conscious shooting at people's homes.
Wow.
And so so it's every day we see them, like in Mariupol. They shot down, like yesterday it was a maternity ward. Last week it was a children's hospital, and there was the girl found in the rubble. They took her out of the rubble, but they couldn't save her because she died of dehydration. A child in 2022 dying of dehydration in a Europe country, in a city that's next to the sea. So it just, all of these stories are just
awful.
To put it mildly, yeah.
I was sitting here contemplating whether I was going to ask you about the Ukrainian badasses, and then I was looking through your blog and I see this post, and you have a list of all of them, like the guy who has the landmine, like that went viral, and so one of the things, just on a positive note, like eventually there's probably going to be a name for that. You know what I mean? Like a name in the meme, like in Florida, we have the Florida man, the crazy guy. He's the Florida man. What's the Ukrainian name for these people that are the grandma that exchanged food for a tank, the grandma that put the laxative in the tea? You know what I mean? Like that's awesome.
Yeah, we also have gypsies that have stolen a tank and a armored personnel carrier. And we have several tractor drivers that stole tanks. there's a video on YouTube or in somewhere on the internet there's been shared where there's a John Deere tractor like tugging a tank behind itself. So we jokingly say that the farmers are unofficially the largest tank holder in Ukraine.
It seems like Ukrainian people are very, very, very loyal. Like extremely loyal to
our entire history, everybody wants to get us. Ever since, like, Kyiv is 1,500 years old, over 1,500 years old, and we're kind of, the way we're located, we're in the crossroads between everything. So we're like the bone and the throat for many countries, and they keep wanting to get us. But all we want is, like, I don't want to say we're a farmer's country, but we are a farmer's country. And our main idea is just to live and to enjoy growing wheat. We were called for, we have one of the best growing soils. It's so good that during the World War II, Germans would actually export our soil, our black soil, to Germany because it was so good. So yeah, we're the bread basket of Europe. We love what we do, and we just want to live our lives peacefully with no But yeah, Ukrainians are fierce, and I think that was one of the things that Putin didn't take into account, that we're not going to welcome his forces. We don't need to any liberation. Russian-speaking people, me included, don't need any liberation from Ukrainian oppressors. We're doing just great. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
yeah. Can you make any sense of his freeing Nazi business? I don't know that. I mean,
he's insane.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
I think my theory, personal, I don't know. Besides the fact that he's just medically insane, and even his close, the people close to him are starting to say that he's insane, and European officials, like I think the Netherlands Prime Minister or somebody recently said that he's insane. I think we have been so loyal to our country and not wanting to be a part of his, that he just wants to either get revenge or just to destroy us so that we don't enjoy our lives anymore. So it's not about conquering. He doesn't have the force to conquer Ukraine. Not like, even if his army is incredibly demoralized because they come here. We know why we're protecting our land. A lot of Russian soldiers don't have a clue why they're here, because they were told for years, the propaganda was that Ukrainian, there's so many Russian-speaking people oppressed in Ukraine. We have to free them from the Nazis, and we are the Nazis. They're freeing us from. So it doesn't make any sense. He's delusional, and it's not even because I just don't like him, but I think it's medically medical insanity, because he's just got this mania of greatness, kind of like Hitler did. But at least Germans were motivated by an idea, like this great Aryan race, whatever. And here we see that there's so many stories of Russian soldiers giving up to Ukrainian army, simply saying we had no idea why we were sent here.
Wow.
So that's the main thing. It's this entire thing is so stupid. And I kind of feel bad for normal Russians, because there are some normal Russians that were not brainwashed by the TV because right now they will be in Middle Ages. Because I don't know if you've seen the sanctions or the number of companies that left them. Like they don't have even McDonald's. And over here, McDonald's is kind of a big deal. When McDonald's left, Coke has left. They don't get any iPhones, like all the Apple production. Samsung doesn't provide any chips for computers. So they cannot export their oil.
No movies. No movies are being released in Russia.
No movies.
No
Yeah, so
Nikes. The list goes on and on.
And they were actually saying, I don't know how true the rumor is. Russia says that it's just a Ukrainian fake, but it might be a fake. But they're saying that Russia planned, like they already turned off Facebook and Twitter in Russia. They turned off monetization for YouTube bloggers in Russia. So for those of them that were actually doing very good financially, they don't have any means, like, because a lot of YouTube bloggers, that was the main thing that they did. They had no idea, like no way of earning other money because they were blogging.
Wow.
And
I wonder if that ends in revolt. Like, I wonder if the Russian people revolt over that.
We keep saying, like, we've got his attention, so you have all the platform for revolting. And I listened to a political analyst yesterday, and he was saying that it's actually probably not people, because the people still believe the propaganda. But those that are close to Putin, those that are in the Duma and all the parliament that had a lot of money overseas, and for example, lots of their children were studying like in Europe and going to the best, like in Harvard and all kinds of these high level areas and universities. They're starting to get sanctioned also. They can no longer go there. And this analyst was saying that, well, actually, if anything, it's probably going to be these oligarchs, the people with a lot of money that are like losing their money they were billionaires last week. Now they're millionaires. So it's probably going to be them. If they will take their chance to revolt or overturn this regime, because their lives and their well-being is at stake, and many of them are persecuted already, and they probably won't be able to even go anywhere except, I don't know, Kazakhstan or Armenia or Georgia, if they will be accepting Russians. So yeah, Russia is going to be an interesting, yeah.
Wow.
I kind of feel bad for, like, I'm torn because I'm a Christian, so I kind of can't enjoy other people. Like, I don't want to enjoy other people getting punished for another man's deed. But at the same time, I've heard so many, like, even from Russian Orthodox Church, because it has been so politicized. They were talking about how let's pray this prayer for the internal conflicts in Ukraine. So that was the official prayer from the patriarch of the Russian Orthodox Church. And we're like, this is not internal conflict. You guys are attacking us and you're killing our people. We are forced to kill your people, and you're losing. By now, it's, I think, within the 15 days, there were 12,000 Russian soldiers that were killed.
Wow.
Oh,
so yeah, the numbers are staggering. So you're saying, like, you're sending your people here to die, and they're not trained. They don't have any ammunition. Even the way they're dressed says like that they're wearing the uniform from 80s. So yeah.
Do you have a blog? Do you have an actual blog where people can follow you?
I have a blog, but it's more of a I haven't kept much of it for a year. It kind of comes and goes, but I'll send you the link.
Your Facebook page, though, your daily posts, those are public, right?
Yeah, the ones that are public, the ones about war are public. All the rest,
the ones that I can
right
find
now.
Right here.
Yeah. And I'm not accepting friends right now, just because, it's not because I don't want to accept anyone, but it's because it's for security reasons. There are many fakes going on around this time.
Absolutely.
So if anybody would be trying to add me, I'm not ignoring you for no reason. I'm just, it has to be protected. And
absolutely. So Dana, you're asking for her blog. I think the best way to access her right now would be just to go to Facebook and type in her name. That's what I did. And then you can see all of her public posts. And every day she's putting up a new post about the war and what's going on. And then there's also her blog. But the Facebook posts are the ones where for the last 15 days she's given an update. And you can see that publicly without having to send her a friend request.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfect.
Wow. And I'm trying to post some there's a couple of donation links that people can, and I'll show those. These are available on the Facebook conversation if you want to be able to click on those. Mm-hmm. And here in LeGrand, we're going to have on Saturday at Max Square, there is going to be a public "We Support Ukraine" rally.
Awesome.
And I know, it's kind of funny because, not funny, but it's just interesting that we have been, America has been like in this turmoil of division for quite a long time, political division. And, but what I'm seeing is that there's a lot of unity about, wow, this is awful. And it doesn't, and we're hearing that from, doesn't matter. it's just an awful of enough situation that it's been very unifying. So people, they really feel for what you guys are going through.
I've got a million messages
I
on
can
all
imagine.
the platforms.
Yeah. Well, man, we really appreciate you, Zee, coming on, and we would love to have you back on. If you want to jump on and give us an update, send me a message anytime. If you wanted to create a little update video, we would be happy to post that on our stuff. Just because I know that people, they want and need personal information. It is so, as you know, it is so difficult from media outlets to know what's real, what's not, what's authentic. And there's nothing more authentic than talking to someone who every time the sirens go off, they're finding a corner to hide in. I just can't imagine that. Yeah,
I hope you never will.
Yeah, you're the same age as
my prayer is nobody will ever face the same as we are right now.
Well, thanks so much, and I hope that you can feel our love and prayers and our sympathy for what's going on in your lives. And just hope that and pray that all of this has some kind of a end or resolution quickly. So
Soon, fast.
Yeah.
Amen
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
I think that's probably going to be the thing that will happen. Like we have a feeling that it's not going to last for a long time, and I sure hope it won't. Yeah.
Well, and we didn't say this, but Kyiv has almost 4 million people. It's a major metropolitan area, and it's kind of the target. I mean, it's the capital of Ukraine, and so I don't know. Thanks for being there. Thanks for being with us this morning. We really appreciate it. It's actually, what time is it? 6 o'clock your time?
It's like it's 7 up there.
Yeah. So 7 o'clock p.m. On Thursday, right?
Yeah.
It's the 15th day. I have no idea. I think it's a Thursday.
It's Thursday. It's 7 at night on a Thursday there. Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
Wow.
We're in your future.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I have a couple Australian friends, and they're like 17 hours ahead of us or something.
Man.
And so, like, my buddy will be like going to work, and I'll be like just getting ready to go to bed. You know what I mean? It's like really weird.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we have several clients like that at work, so very familiar with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Z. We really appreciate it.
Stay safe.
Thanks
for sure.
having me.
We'll be praying for you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
heavy stuff, man.
Yeah.
Goodness
Where do you
gracious.
hard? Yeah, it's just hard to not. I mean, we are so fortunate. You just can't. It's craziness.
We take so much for granted. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
All right, let's get this done so we can get out of here today. On this day, March 10th, 1849, Abraham Lincoln applied for a patent. It was just a patent to lift boats over shoals and obstructions. It's a device, but that's not the important part about it. The important part is he's the only president that's ever applied for a patent.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. 1862, U.S. issues first paper money in the form of 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, 500, and $1,000 notes. 1862. 1876, on this day, the first telephone call is made. Alexander Graham Bell transmitted the words. Do you know what he said? The first words ever said over a telephone. To his assistant, Thomas A. Watson, who was in the next door room. He said, "Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you." Those were the very first words ever spoken on a telephone.
Wow.
1933, Nevada became the first U.S. state to regulate drugs. 1933. 1969, James Earl Ray pled guilty to the murder of Martin Luther King Jr. And then 2020, which was 2 years ago on this day, and this ties into what we were just talking about, the Russian lower house of parliament passed legislation that allowed Vladimir Putin to hold office of president for life. So he's their president forever until he dies.
Wow.
Which is crazy. I mean, yeah, it's just crazy.
I don't think I knew that.
You didn't know that? Yeah, that was 2 years ago. The number one song in America, 1972 on this day. America, a horse with no name.
Been to the desert with a horse with no name.
Because I'm trying to get out from the rain.
Down.
And then the quote of the day. It's right there. And it is, instead of wondering when your next vacation is, maybe you should set up a life that you don't need to escape from. So instead of wondering when your next vacation is, you ought to set up a life you don't need to escape from.
Wow. Hey, thank you, Eastern Oregon. Check out those links and make a donation. we're kind of at this spot of not knowing really what to do and how we can help. And really appreciate Zee coming on, and I hope that something we can do here locally can add some help or some support to what she's doing. So,
Yep.
thank
See
you.
you on Tuesday.
Yep.